Let's maul in the Central Committee. Let's cringe in the Central Committee. Let's bog in the Central Committee right now.
So as the U.S. departs Bagram Air Base, the United States has once again been humiliated, been defeated. If the United States had gone to Afghanistan with the limited objective of apprehending the terrorist criminals that did 9/11, that would have been one thing. But they decided that they were going to go to war. For what purpose? No purpose. To steal money. To steal money. The military-industrial complex. And what did we do when we were in Afghanistan, chat? What was the costs? What were the costs of the 20-year war in Afghanistan? We have spent $2.2 trillion. That is greater than all student loan debt in America. $2.2 trillion. Washington has spent more than $143 billion into the goal of defeating the Taliban. $88 billion went to training, equipping, and funding the Afghan military and police forces. $88 billion down the drain. Unlike with other conflicts in American history, the U.S. borrowed heavily to fund the war in Afghanistan, has paid some $530 billion in interest. The banks made money. The rich made money. $296 billion in medical and other care for veterans. We will continue to pay those costs for years to come. Much of the billions lavished on the huge infrastructure projects went to waste. The U.S. Inspector General discovered canals, dams, and highways fell into disrepair as Afghanistan failed to absorb the flood of aid. Newly built hospitals and schools stood empty. Without proper oversight, the U.S. money bred corruption that undermined government legitimacy. Despite the costly counter-narcotics campaign, opium soared. Opium exports reached record highs. Despite the billions in weapons and training to Afghan security forces, the Taliban increased the amount of territory they control. Despite the vast spending on job creation and welfare, unemployment hovers around 25%. The poverty rate has fluctuated over the years, reaching 47% through 2020, compared to 36% so all that money and poverty got worse in Afghanistan because all that money was stolen. We've invested too much with too little to show for it. Although if you want to prolong the war interminably, many fear its final end may jeopardize Afghanistan's modest gains. Fuck you. And what were we doing while we were there? What were the modest what were the gains that we're defending? What were we? Why do the Afghans hate us? We're bribing everybody. What's going on? Why do the Afghans hate us in Afghanistan? Why are we leaving now? Because we're defeated. We're defeated. And the American people are tired. And there's no reason to stay. Afghan pedophiles get free pass from the U.S. military, report says. On 5,753 occasions from 2010 to 2016, the United States military asked to review Afghan military units to see if there were any instances of gross human rights abuses. If there were, American law required military aid to be cut off to the offending unit. Not once did that happen. That was among the findings in an investigation into child sexual abuse by Afghan security forces and the supposed indifference of the American military to the problem. According to a report released on Monday by the Special Inspector General for Afghan Reconstruction, known as SIGAR. The report released on Monday was heavily redacted, at least to the public portions. It did little to answer questions about how prevalent child sexual abuse was in the Afghan military and police and how commonly the American military looked the other way at the widespread practice of bacha or boy play, in which some Afghan commanders kept underage boys as sex slaves. Although the DoD and state have taken steps to identify and investigate child sexual assault incidents, the full extent of those incidents may never be known. Cigar said it opened an investigation into bazi at the request of Congress in response to a 2005 New York Times article that described the practice as rampant. The article said that American soldiers who complained had their careers ruined by their superiors, who had encouraged them to ignore the practice. DoD and state only began efforts to address this issue after it was raised by the New York Times, said John F. Sopko, the Special Inspector General. And even after that story, the sufficiency of policies they've put in place and the resources they've committed seem questionable. When Congress passed the Leahy laws, they prioritized the issue of gross human rights violation. As our report clearly shows, both agencies failed to live up to the task. A former Special Forces officer, Captain Dan Quinn, who beat up an Afghan commander for keeping a boy chained to his bed as a sex slave, said at the time that he had been relieved of his command as a result. "We were putting people into power who would do things that were worse than the Taliban did," said Captain Quinn, who has left the military. Sergeant First Class Charles Martland, a highly decorated Green Beret, was forced out of the military after beating up an Afghan local police commander in Kunduz, who was a child rapist. Sergeant Martland became incensed after the Afghan commander abducted the boy, raped him, then beat up the boy's mother when she tried to rescue him. Congressional inquiries apparently led to Sergeant Martland's reinstatement. The Times article also cited the suspicious death of Lance Corporal Gregory Buckley Jr., a United States Marine who was killed at a checkpoint where he was stationed with a notorious commander who had a retinue of bazi boys. Corporal Buckley had complained about that commander and was killed, along with 2 other Marines, by one of the commander's boys. The Sigmar report made no mention of the cases of Corporal Buckley, Captain Quinn, or Sergeant Martland, and it appeared to have interviewed only 3 unnamed American soldiers who reported being aware of the practice, which many soldiers and Afghan officials have told journalists they know to be widespread. As of August 12, 2016, the Defense Department was investigating 75 instances of gross human rights violations, 7 involving child sexual assault, but even Defense Department officials acknowledged that was a portion of the total, the Cigar report said. Under the Leahy law, United States military aid funds must be cut off to any foreign military unit implicated in gross human rights violation, which includes the practice of bazi, which is enslavement and rape of young boys. But another provision of American law called the Notwithstanding Clause says that Afghan military aid should be available notwithstanding any other provision of law. The Cigar report said that the Notwithstanding Clause had been used repeatedly to evade cutting off military aid to Afghan units. DoD is continuing to provide assistance to units for which the department has credible information of a gross violation of human rights, undermines efforts by U.S. government officials to engage with the Afghan government on the importance of respect for human rights and rule of law. But it also said no evidence had been found that American soldiers were ordered to look the other way as a matter of policy or that their commanders condoned the bazi practice. The practice is so widespread that at least one of the 2014 Afghan presidential candidates was a one-time CIA-backed warlord, Gul Aghaza Shiranzi, who is widely accused of being a pedophile who keeps bazi boys. President Ashraf Ghani vowed to end the practice in a 2015 speech, but there have been few, if any, persecutions by the Afghan authorities for bazi practices. Mr. Shiranzi Zani is now the Minister of Border and Tribal Affairs in Mr. Ghani's government. That's why the Taliban's gonna win. Bazi, thank you, White Boy Summer. That's why the Taliban's gonna win. I don't like the Taliban. I think they are conservative, reactionary, violent Islamist ghouls. But when the CIA is backing pedophile warlords that beat up mothers trying to save their sons, you're gonna lose! And you deserve to lose. That's where your 2.2 trillion went. Doesn't that piss you off a little bit? A tiny little bit. A tiny little bit. How's that student loan debt taste? Every time you pay a check to student loan debt. It was to empower a CIA-backed pedophile. Every time you cut a check to your student loans or pay your taxes, know that the CIA, I mean, this is right here. And Americans approve of this group of people. When I was there in Coolest Region says, when I was there in 2012, we were told if we got involved, we would suffer UCMJ action as it's not our place to change their culture and we can't get involved. I never saw any T-boys, but we all knew they existed. So if you're ever like, I don't understand it. How come the Taliban has so much support? Why can't we support? Why can't we find any good guys to support us? And there it is in black and white. There it is. Your U.S. military has finally left. Yet the U.S. gets offended by the insinuation they've done things as horrible or should be worse than Hamas. Of course they have. I'm honestly depressed today for being reminded of what has been done to Iraq and Afghanistan and how their populations have seen nothing but hardship. Yet the Western world just basks in watching the fucking EU World Football Cup. I mean, that's called power. NATO has been terrible all around Afghanistan. They could have negotiated peace with the Taliban much sooner, but U.S. were hard-headed idiots. Now the Taliban is as strong as ever and the country is in shambles from constant fighting. Give credit to Joe Biden for not doing the same old cowardly shit that all those other idiots did and just accepted defeat. The U.S. could complete its troop withdrawal within days, making this a critical week in President Joe Biden's campaign to end America's longest war, even as U.S. military officials warned the country could devolve. It's been in a civil war. What? Could devolve? They control 80% of the country. A formal conclusion to this week of the U.S. military withdrawal or retrograde. Retrograde! Retrograde! That's another L for America. Would mark an astonishingly quick end to a process that Biden initiated in April when he ordered the military to leave by September 11th. As many as 1,000 troops could remain in the country after the formal withdrawal to assist in securing the U.S. embassy in Kabul and the city's airport. And it's unclear how long NATO troops will remain. But the number of U.S. troops at Afghanistan for embassy protection and airport security would not exceed 650 for now. This week could be a critical week in the withdrawal and end of the retrograde process. Taliban is going to be cruising around in American Humvees. I never understand how some people can't realize U.S. imperialism and war is just as bad, if not worse, than Taliban rule. Of course it is. Of course it is. We put in pedophiles. We let pedophiles chain kids to beds and rape them. Toyotas are better. Yeah, they're more reliable. I mean, private military contractors will remain. No, they won't. Private military contractors don't have the ability to resist the Taliban. Have you ever covered the gunsmith town in Pakistan? We just provided them with the blueprints for any weapons we left there. I mean, guns are pretty easy to make, dude. Anybody with a machine shop can make a gun. Like, guns are very simple mechanically. It's intellectual property that makes them expensive, okay? They're very easy to make. There's no more money if the U.S. unless the U.S. is paying money. Oh man, I need more hilarious meme. Like, this is fun. This is funny to me. I don't know about you. But for something I've been arguing against for the better part of 15 years, this is funny. Like, I told you so. It still feels bad. Like, I still feel terrible. Let's watch the Fox News version of the report.
Our troops may be leaving, but support for Afghanistan is not ending in terms of support and maintenance of their helping maintain their military as well as economic and political support. The Afghans are going to have to decide their future,
How many terrorist attacks America suffered after the invasion of the Middle East? Yeah, just a handful. And the last one was many years ago. America did an acceptable job protecting American interests that you don't even remember Al-Qaeda. How many major terrorist attacks do we have before 9/11? And 9/11 was caused by the U.S.'s support of the Mujahideen, which CNN just covered 5 minutes ago on stream. The United States of America, by the way, after 9/11 terrorist attacks, the United States had international support for an action against Al-Qaeda. I believe everyone across the world supported getting justice for the victims of 9/11. If that involved limited military operations, sure. But George W. Bush turned down the ability of getting Al-Qaeda right away in Afghanistan. He let them flee. And then we invaded Iraq and Afghanistan, which had barely anything to do with 9/11. You know who did 9/11? Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia did 9/11. That's why that's still classified, that part of the 9/11 Commission report. The part where it explains what really happened. Okay, sorry, they finally declassified it, but it's still heavily redacted. It's called the 28 pages. 28 pages refers to the final section of the December 2002 report of the Joint Inquiry into the Intelligence Community Activities before and after the terrorist attacks of September 11th, suggesting possible financial, logistical, and other support provided to the hijackers and their associates by Saudi and Arabian officials and others suspected of being Saudi agents. The document is kept in a sensitive, compartmentalized information facility in the basement of the Capitol building.
We have worked out an over-horizon capacity that we can be value added, but the Afghans are going to have to be able to do it themselves with the Air Force they have, which you're helping them.
This is one of my favorite stories, chat. I'm going to show you about the Afghan Air Force. You ready? Oh, don't you worry. We got a good story for you.
Afghanistan.
I'm not going to answer any more questions on Afghanistan. Look, it's 4th of July. I'm concerned that you guys are asking me questions that I'll answer next week, but this is a holiday weekend. I'm going to celebrate it. There's great things happening. Economy's growing faster than any time in 40 years. We've got a record number of new jobs. COVID deaths are down 90%. Wages are up faster than any time in 15 years. We're bringing our troops home. We have all across America. People are going to ball games and doing good things. This is a good. I'll answer all your negative questions, not negative, your legitimate questions. We have worked out an over-horizon capacity that we can be value added, but the Afghans are going to have to be able to do it themselves with the Air Force they have.
Hey, how's the Afghan Air Force doing? U.S. turns $486 million Afghan air fleet into $32,000 of scrap metal. Fleet of Italian cargo planes rarely got off the ground. $32,000 of scrap. Woo! 486 million. The U.S. has destroyed 16 cargo planes it purchased for almost $500 million for the Afghan Air Force and sold the scrap metal for $32,000. The Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction is asking the Air Force why the fleet of G-222 aircrafts were turned into scrap metal this past August. They sat idle for years on the tarmac at Kabul International Airport. They sat idle for years on tarmac at Kabul International Airport. The remaining 4 G-222 aircraft are now in storage at the U.S. Air Force Base in Ramstein, Germany. No final decision has been made on their future. NATO purchased 20 of the Italian-made aircraft for $486 million in hopes that they could serve as cargo and transit needs for Afghanistan's new Air Force, but it quickly became apparent that the aircraft were not suited for the dusty conditions found in Afghanistan and required constant maintenance and spare parts. According to a letter sent to the SIGMAR to Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel, the G-222 program was terminated in March 2013 after sustained serious performance, maintenance, and spare parts problems, and the planes were grounded. John Sopko, the Special Inspector General for Afghan Reconstruction, wrote to Hagel that his office had been reviewing the purchase of the planes, It said he had recently been made aware that the aircraft were turned over to the Defense Logistics Agency and they have since been scrapped. The aircraft had recently been towed to the far side of the airport and scrapped by the Defense Logistics Agency. Informed that an Afghan construction company paid approximately 6 cents a pound for the scrap planes, which came to a total of $32,000. Topco said he was concerned that the American defense officials involved in the scrapping of the aircraft may not have considered other possible alternatives in order to salvage taxpayer dollars. Whoopsie, whoopsie-doopsie, whoopsie-daisy, oh no, oh darn. According to Sofco's office, the aircraft never met expectations and only flew 234 flight hours. They were brand new. They were brand new. Major Bradley Advas confirmed that the aircraft at the airport in Kabul had been destroyed to minimize impact on drawdown of U.S. forces in Afghanistan. The American military force is currently drawing down from its current levels of 26,000 to a force of blah, 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 blah. We can't afford to pay for your kid to go to college. We can't afford to do a Green New Deal. We've got to fund the Pentagon for this. Can you share this article, please? Sure. The fact that you guys don't know this is why I exist. These stories get buried. And that propaganda about it's anti-Semitic to criticize Israel is what gets promoted. A 20-year-old piece of garbage liar gets promoted. This gets nothing. The Afghan's Air Force is a rare U.S.-backed success story. What a fucking loser propaganda piece. The Onion 10 years ago and the AP today. 10 fucking years. U.S. quietly slips out of Afghanistan in the middle of the night. U.S. left Afghan airfield at night, didn't tell new commander. Chat, what did I tell you about the Onion? What did I tell you about the Onion? What did I tell you about the Onion? Huh? What did I tell you about the Onion? The Onion are time travelers. You got that right. The Onion are time travelers. Inside Afghanistan's looted Bagram airbase after U.S. departure of pictures. You could go there and get yourself a free truck, it looks like. You could just walk in and get yourself a free car. You can just walk in. Look at all the cars we left behind. Just walk in, free trucks, free vans. Hell yeah, dude. Free SUV. Golf carts. I want that Gator. Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah, brother. Look at all those free cars. They're gonna have Taliban stencils on them before you know it. The items left behind. The items left behind include thousands of civilian vehicles, many of them without keys to start them. Before the Afghan army could take control of the airfield, it was invaded by a small army of looters who ransacked barracks and storage tents before being evicted. Look at all that exercise equipment. This is fucking poggy, man. Bagram's new commander said the U.S. left behind 3.5 million items, all itemized by the departing military. They include tens of thousands of bottles of water, energy drinks, and military-ready-made meals. An Afghan soldier plays a guitar that was left behind. In one night, they lost all the goodwill of 20 years by leaving the way they did in the night without telling the Afghan soldiers who were outside. Afghan soldiers in Bagram. Kostani said the U.S. also left behind small weapons and the ammunition for them, but they took heavy weapons with them and destroyed their ammunition. An Afghan man rests inside his shop as he sells U.S. secondhand goods from outside the base. Damn, dude, you got any iPhone chargers, brah? Got any iPhone chargers? Afghan troops with an armored vehicle. That's where your money went, chat. Instead of Medicare for all or Green New Deal or infrastructure or college. That's where it went. Every time you ride across a pothole, think about the Afghan armored vehicle with a 50 cal on it. Holy shit! Look at all those MRAPs! How much does an MRAP cost? MRAP vehicles usually have V-shaped hulls to deflect explosive forces from landmines or IEDs below the vehicle, thereby protecting vehicle and passengers. MRAPs weigh 14 to 18 tons and cost between $500,000 and $1 million. That's 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, 6 million, 7 million, 8 million, 9 million, 10, $11 million. Just left that behind. And by the way, it costs that more. It costs God knows how much to actually ship it there too. It's not just buying it. They got to ship it there. That probably cost another, $250,000 each. Hey, I'd rather it was left in the desert than have it all brought back and given to the police. Dude, that's not the only alternative, man. By the way, this is why people burn the American flag, if you're wondering. Got 500,000 Americans living on the street. 500,000 Americans living on the street. Here's $11 million in one picture. And that's an undercount. I'm sure there's cars, but I just couldn't see the, I assume there's rows upon rows. I can't see behind these. So there's probably another 5-10 million. Wow. Look at all the forklifts, bro. Holy shit, dude. Kostani insisted Afghan forces could hold on to the heavily fortified facility despite a string of Taliban wins on the battlefield. The airfield also includes a prison with 5,000 prisoners, many of them allegedly Taliban. Dude, those prisoners are going to be let out and they're going to walk in and take over the base in 5 minutes. Taliban Christmas in July. Holy shit, dude. Holy fucking shit, dude. We do politics here every morning starting at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. You can watch us here on Twitch. We're the morning guy. The morning politics guy. Politics Frogs in every single day. Same time, 10 a.m. Day in, day out. And we carry you through your morning and early afternoon politics needs. And if you need more, Mike from PA, we have a YouTube channel. We talked about suburbs, the My Pillow guy, Ted Cruz. We talked about DSA. Amazing. Making fun of Tim Pool. Amazing. Look at all of these amazing videos. Get in there, watch them. We have me on Twitter. You got to follow me on Twitter, chat. I'm at 20,614 subs. That means I got like 40 followers on Twitter in the last day. You can do better than that. You can do better than that. Go follow us on Twitter. And of course, join the Discord, where we have an incredible community of left-wing streamers. We have left-wing community. We talk about the stream. We talk about politics. There's gaming content. It's a really awesome, supportive place. Direct action, mutual aid. And you can just let off some steam. And also, you can help produce the show. One of the things I do is I look at the links that are put into the news content suggestions chat room on the Discord. Join the Discord, come hang out, and maybe what you want me to talk about will be part of the next show.